you suggesting when?
In the email, they said they usually go to a Selectboard meeting, but since it's only 2 homes impacted, that they thought we should do it on site.
We could just make it just a agenda item though, right?
Yeah.
Like just so then we don't have to have a special meeting, so those people are noticed, they can show up, and then
Yep.
they can come, do that part, leave, and so can the AOT person, right, as soon as they're done.
All right, so let's figure out, we'll do that. It's a good idea, Mike, just make it an agenda.
Yeah, couldn't we meet there prior to the meeting, like at 5:30 or
The
something?
state wants to be involved with it too.
No, I know, but they said they usually come to a Selectboard meeting, so we could meet
Meet prior.
earlier
The meeting.
Right.
and then walk back over and come back to our meeting.
Okay.
So,
You're gonna ask the state about that though?
Yeah.
Reach out to them and- okay. I think that's all I had.
Robin, what about, what,
Sorry. The broadband email, did everybody get a chance to see that? Mike responded.
yeah,
oh, yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Because I looked, that parcel's only like 70 feet by 70 feet, right, so then, like, they obviously don't know the foundations in there, so then I don't
Right.
think a 30-foot pad would fit in there either way, so,
And plus, if we get that cluster going up the road.
Right.
You don't want to add it there.
right.
Yeah, I don't think it would be appropriate putting it right there where the old schoolhouse was.
No.
And right there at that intersection.
It's a good start, but we could use that if we're not right there.
I'll get back to them on that.
Thanks, no, thank you for that, for looking at the lot.
Oh, I knew the spot, I used to live right next to it, so, yeah.
Very good. All right, Robin, did you have anything for us, bud?
No,
Nothing on that. Mike, anything else?
Nope.
Yeah.
Nothing, but just wondering where we're at with the CDL.
With Eric?
Yeah.
You know what, I haven't asked, but I will check on that. Yeah, I think he was by this point, the expectation is that he had his permit.
At least.
Yeah, so I'll check on that. Thanks for remembering. All right, so I did get one email. I'll share it with everyone. I actually meant to send it last week. It was the one I was talking to you about from Kelly Reagan, and she was not happy about the 5% raises that we gave the road crew. So there's a very lengthy email, but I'll send it to you guys to let you take a look at it. And she just cited some state averages that the state had been doing and such. So I called her and just thanked her for her input, and you can come and talk to us and explain where we came up with our numbers to her. So she seemed to be okay with that. She just really, I think her biggest concern is the tax, for older people. And so that was a reason to talk about it. But,
Right.
She's really concerned about the older people paying the taxes because their mother's limited income and she's kind of struggling. So I think that it came from that. But, so I'll send you guys that. Other than that, I don't think there's been any other emails or such. The road crew seemed to be doing well. I hadn't heard much. I know we had one breakdown on Sunday. Rodney's truck blew up. I'm not sure what type of hose, some type of hydraulic hose or something. But we were able to use the Mac, so that came in handy. Although I don't think Rodney liked driving the Mac, or was that, an old Mac or a new International was quite a difference. But we were able to get through the storm and no problems. Callie did let me know, and I had heard it from Martin. The International Sean's old truck that we had the engine problem with, that we replaced the engine, has blown a radiator hose again. So we're almost starting that whole process, what we did with hopefully not, hopefully it was just an off shoot. It was we blow hoses every once in a while, but like this truck, we ended up, I don't know how many top ends we put on it, and then we ended up replacing the whole engine, and so we'll see. And that was, a lot of it was under warranty, but I think that ended up costing us 15 or 20 grand or something like that.
Yeah, and then they basically.
26 by the time we were done or something.
Was it that much?
I think it finally creeped up to that, yeah.
20, yeah.
It was either 16 or 26, I almost think it crept up to 26, whatever. Yeah.
And that was the one that if we did that, then they weren't covering anything else on it either, I think. That was the agreement with that.
Yeah, I can't. Well, when we get the new engine's all under warranty though. Supposed to be, so we'll see. So hopefully that does not rear its ugly head. Don, how about yourself? What do you got?
Well, just an update for town meeting, on the 4th. I've met with Kate Liptak. We've gone over sort of the layout change for this year. Reached out to all the committees and sent emails to, about 140 people. We've, heard from some people who are signing up for various things to volunteer. We will have some work to do after the meeting, especially if the potluck comes off, in terms of cleanup and picking up and helping with folk and taking care of some of the chairs. But a lot of people have indicated they'll step up. So now we're in the 2-week countdown. Sherilyn's going to do another front porch forum post this week, and we'll do another one next week to keep people, in front and center. And mentioned the chili cook-off the other day, so that was a very successful event. A bunch of people were there, indicated they'd be coming. So, hopefully we'll see more people turn out both tonight and for town meeting. So that was one thing I wanted to mention. The other is that I know we won't do this tonight, but we need to remember that we had the class 4 legal trails thing, that we got the recommendations from that committee. So
I thought we put that on, didn't we?
Yeah, they're coming on March 17th.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's what I was just reminding everybody, if they wanted to look at that and read what they sent. And the other one is that the town garage. I did bring the engineer over. We saw a short-term solution, but I've still asked him to give us a proposal for maybe the big
Short-term solution is just turning the heat on, right?
Well, getting not a thermostat, a humidistat that would turn the fan on.
Right.
Except that when we did do that there, it really, you want to talk about bringing in some cold air, So, that's sort of the short-term fact. And as you might have seen, I emailed the engineer back and said, well, can you just give us a proposal for what it would take in the long term, to make the building function properly? Because you don't want to undertake fixing all the rotted wood and stuff like that until we really got the system nailed. Right. So that's a work in progress, as well as some work that we'll need to do on the fire station. I've met with a few people. I'm going to go with Rod at some point, because he mentioned he might be able to do some of that stuff. So there you go. That's an update on those few things.
Before we move on,
One other thing is, I don't know if anybody else has noticed it, but you drive by the sand pit, it's like, whoa, we've used a lot of sand.
Yeah, a lot of sand, yeah.
Weather has dictated it, and with all the little storms and the icy roads, but wow, we're getting down there.
yeah, same thing. I was wondering, what do you think? Is there 1,000 yards left there, you think? Anyone looked at that? Or?
saw it today. I have no idea. I don't know how many do we start with.
Usually around, was it around 5,000 yards? Because I think we usually buy about 4 or so.
that we have left
We
over.
always have left over. So there's usually, I think, around 1,000 or so left over. So
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll make it, but yeah, I don't think we'll have anything left over this year.
I noticed there was some towns or a town I saw that were running out of salt. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's.
Yeah, it's been the nature of the storms, you know, getting 1 inch, 3 inch, 4 inches, 5 inches, you know, it's.
Well, that was unbelievable after the last meeting. Our road was just crazy. Just before Cheryl Lynn's house, somebody stopped like right at the crest of the hill. And I came up and he's like in the middle of the road. And luckily I had enough studs to get around him and I was gonna stop and help the guy out, but I couldn't even stand up when I got off the road. And I was like, sorry,
I know it's been.
you're like a bowling pin sitting there.
I stopped and turned
Did you?
Somebody came up the hill next to me and I was like, okay. But I didn't
I
stop.
stopped and, yeah, I turned around just past Barrows and went back and took Route 2 onto 3 Mile Bridge and then up.
It was after our last meeting.
Yeah.
That was,
It was raining.
You said it's
and
fine
that
because my road was totally fine.
Yes.
no,
Yeah.
it was crazy.
And it was
Great.
pouring rain, so it's no point in dumping a bunch of sand on it at that point. It's
yeah,
just
no.
gonna wash off.
Well, tonight would just be
Off topic, but
Yeah.
well, on the subject of sand.
Yeah. There's not a lot of people here to.
Let's hope we have enough.
So tonight,
More of that's coming.
tonight I thought we'll just kind of go through the agenda that is in the book. You know, we have a few things. Steve's here. He wants to talk about being the moderator. We can do that. Article 2, 1-year term. We'll talk. Mike, you can talk. I'll say something. We'll make sure if I don't ask people, if there are people here, if there's anyone ready to write in the campaign. So I don't want to think they can't. There's nothing on Article 3 that really for us to discuss, or 4. Article 5, the budget. So that will be where our discussion will really probably start. And what I thought is we'll, you know, they can ask questions of how we performed in the last budget, our new budget. I'm sure flood questions will be there. We'll just take any kind of financial questions at that point. We got Cheryl Lynn's here as well. Some of the stuff in the book we may or may not know where it is, so we've got her to help us with any questions. Does anyone have any thoughts, or have you looked at the book and any questions come up that you said, you know what, someone's going to ask this question, I want to make sure I'm prepared for it? Is anything like that? Nothing?
No, I didn't see anything in there.
Alright. So I've gone through, I've made some notes, and hopefully it is what it is, but we'll just try to answer people's questions as well as we can.
Offices, you have some things highlighted there?
Well, the other thing, that is page 5, those are the terms that are up this year. I just want to make sure that everyone's an opportunity to say something, and then after the budget talk, we'll go ahead and ask, is there any discussion in, what's her name from the Matterhorn Valley? Lauren. If she wants to say something. No. And then we can also let them know Article 7, which is new this year as well. We can talk about that. Then I thought we would just open it up and see if there's any further discussion. Are there any topics that we wanted to specifically broach or bring up?
Well, I could give people a little update on what's going on with the town hall.
That's a good idea.
And, the forestry management thing that got done this year and filed and everything, the updated forest management. And I don't know if Mike would want to talk about that.
is that something that if you have time, and people want to hear about, you could talk about?
Tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about that
We
briefly.
should save that for the town meeting. those items.
Yeah, let's see what we have, we can talk about them both, if there's, and see what time it is, and, you know, with the, being as cold and the storm we just had, I'm a little leery that we're gonna have a lot of people here, you know.
Sick too.
Oh, we had a lot of sick people?
Yeah, I had a bunch of people contact me today that flew up and wanted to be here. But they'll be on.
Be online?
Yeah.
Well, if there are no questions on the town report, is there any other, do we have any other business anyone wants to present on? We talked about before, our conversation there.
Trails is the 17th.
Trails is the 17th, that's right. We did the MOU. And Cheryl Lynn's, what, just,
Yeah, the finance
the finance committee, so,
So we were going to meet today.
Yeah.
And myself and Linda had emergency things that came up, so we're actually meeting on Thursday.
you had Mike on your list too? Because we appointed Mike.
Oh, no, I didn't
From
know
the
that.
select board together.
Okay, so we only need one more.
So I was gonna suggest, I know you were gonna maybe interview a couple of people,
We are two.
but there's someone I thought we should reach out to. His name's James Hunt. And he ended up in the fall, I think, he did like a class, a couple of sessions class at the library, town hall on finances, and people, I don't know exactly what it was, I didn't go, but, on helping people, do their finances, so I think he has a background in that. I thought he'd be someone good to reach out to.
So we're going over there. If he wants to do that, then you want to get us an email,
Yeah,
send me an email by 3rd, we're meeting at 9.
Yeah, I don't even, I just,
Do
I
you know
thought.
who he is, or where could you reach out to him?
Who, me? Yeah, no, I've been in touch with his wife a few times for being on a couple of different meetings.
Is that Aaron?
So, yeah, I'll try tomorrow, because Thursday's coming, so.
So just so you're aware, I believe Aaron is actually running as a write-in for the 3-year term in the library.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, I haven't heard it directly from her, but
All right, when we go through, we can, if they're here, if someone knows.
And the other thing I just wanted to pass on, and maybe, I don't know if it's mentioned in front of the board or not, but and maybe not all meetings, but Martin would like to come to a finance meeting, so you could, just pass on the information he has about where we are with equipment and costs and stuff like that.
he's been to him.
Yeah, so,
That's how we got all the information we had. It's just-
Okay.
Yeah, but we can
Alright.
reach out to him.
okay,
All right,
so I'll try to reach out to Mr.
Yeah, that'd be good, thank you.
is there anything new? Any other new business? Ladies, gentlemen? Nothing. Fine. All right. So we just have a few things to sign, and then we can take a break, and we have about a half an hour.
Did everyone receive their town report in the mail?
I did.
I just barely got mine.
Probably in the mailbox today, maybe.
Yeah, I don't
Well, there was an issue.
feel like we got ours, no.
You may not have just because of your zip code, but you had issues with the post office.
Yeah, I don't,
Dawn,
Better.
you gave us-
could have said,
Yeah, I got mine.
she might have said she couldn't see my mailbox, that's entirely possible.
I got mine's, yeah, Saturday. So you know what? Thank you, Callie, for reminding me, we have the select board minutes of 2/3/2025. I move to approve.
Second.
Callie seconds. Any discussion on the February 3rd meeting minutes? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. There's one list bar. Guy how many do they get? 20.
They haven't reached their 20 ever yet. They've come close to it, but they haven't reached it yet.
You only one signature.
Yeah.
That's actually for an actual license per year.
There's two comments, wanna see.
Callie, I don't know if you signed the payroll, but I don't know if you only do it before or not, but Sean, I think Sean's on that last payroll.
Nope.
Okay. And you have, you worked a couple of shifts.
He's not on that one.
Oh, no, that's not it. There would have been another one.
No, that one I didn't sign.
Guys, it was just the overlook before, so there's my doctors.
I'm missing on this one.
So,
That's
Are
good.
you on that one?
no, this is,
Those are the good ones.
well, that's good. She had to buy a lot of groceries with that. Cars and coats. Well, actually, no, it was better than that. I was looking at the hours now. It's like $23, $60. That was a good choice.
No, he's not on this one either.
Those are the one at 24.
Yeah, I think last time we did, there was something for Sean. Don't fucking, squeal on Sean, that's just money that you're not supposed to know about.
I told him to give it a good deal.
Probably is.
Yeah, because he doesn't get benefits, so if you add that in.
He has the benefit of working with Stefan again, so that's just a benefit, not great.
This is yours. I want to send this one.
The other two,
I'm good on that one too.
It's the first time since I was a little kid that I can remember, that's no touching videos.
Someone, did you go back and look at these?
Yep.
Is there anything else down there, guys? We got it all?
No, that's it.
All right, sure
you're
meeting.
signing all these ones back here.
Yeah, Callie went back and checked on those.
Okay.
So everyone, you ready to go at 6?
Mm-hmm.
What a smiling face there, Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, I did ask, you had a question on the other side of the sidewalk, and can you repeat it again? Was it on the conduit or trees?
Yeah, no, I was saying, I actually looked at that since we had our last meeting, but I was saying where possible on the other side, it would make sense to bury the utilities, because then like street trees could be planted.
Yeah.
I think it's really only right around the post office that it can be, right, because they didn't get buried on the south side.
Right.
So then, and most of the utilities run on the south side, but then where they do run on the north side, it would make sense to at least investigate how much more it would cost to bury them, right? And then you could have some shade trees, and you would just have fewer wires,
Right.
right, crisscrossing everything. So,
So I talked to Cheryl about that. She's gonna check into that. I think at the beginning of the project we had.
I did talk
Oh, you did?
to him. Yeah, and it was brought up at the beginning and never discussed again.
Okay.
of the south side sidewalk.
On the west side sidewalk that we're doing right now, 'cause
Yeah,
that's considered the west side sidewalk, this is the
I-
east side.
okay.
So which one are you talking about?
Well, it'd be the west side. Everyone else calls it the north side. You call it the west side, but so we'll call it the northwest side.
Yes, they
Yeah.
did discuss it and it was never discussed again.
But so is the project completely set in stone at this point, or because it's really only 4 poles? Like it goes like it's like from the post office, it's like from Doctor's Brook to the mill, basically, is where you could get rid of it.
The project has been held up so long that we actually had to get an extension on a grant. And we're $240,000 over what we originally would have been because it's been held up for so long. And so many changes have already been made. My guess is that would probably hold the project up even longer and cost more money. Obviously, it's gonna cost more money.
Right. Yeah. No, I know it costs. It might just make. I don't know. It might make sense to find out like if they have a ballpark of how much more it would cost, because like what's the total cost of the project?
Right now,
Yeah.
it's over 750,000.
Right. And so it's,
Originally, it was 512, but now it's
So when you talk, I mean, those guys can, because they've been working, there is reconstruction going on near the post office with those posts, because to get the easement, they wanted that whole parking area kind of moved around a little bit, so they might be,
Plus with the crosswalks going, they have to do some work there too.
yeah, so there may be some things in play already, so we can check on that.
I mean, it's just worth looking into, because then the sidewalks are going to be there for say like what's the life of the sidewalk? Like 50 years or something, hopefully, right? And so it's like, okay, I don't know. It's just worth figuring out how much it's going to cost.
What's that?
you can bring it up.
Yeah.
Like, say it's another 20 grand, well then,
Yeah, that
I
would
don't
be
know.
chump change to the.
right, and a 700 and whatever $1,000 project, it might, I don't know.
So you're talking just in front of the post office?
I think wherever it's feasible, but I think it's really only feasible
On that
like
side.
in front of the post office, because like the whole rest of it, the utilities are on the east side, right? And so like that sidewalk's brand new, right? So we're not going to change that, because like most of those houses are fed from the power line on this side, but then there's poles like by the post office and the mill. There's poles on that side, right? So that's hypothetically where the utilities could get buried. And so, because it's really only, it's like the post office, it's like 3 or 4 houses, and the post office, library, fire
No,
truck.
it's coming this way, or going north.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's like from Doctor's Brook to the mill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's only a handful of buildings. Because I guess it's really the post office. There's like 2 houses in the library, and then we're not going to plant a tree at the mill, so maybe that doesn't even matter. So it's like 4 buildings or 5 buildings that power services on that side.
We can bring it up to him at the next, we have monthly meetings, so.
Okay.
And one thing though, so we have, one thing we made sure at the beginning of the project, the trees on the west side have, like the maple down in front of Johnny Summers. What kind of trees is like at the very end here? Big one in front of Strauss's.
I'd have to look at it.
Modern or something.
Yeah, sometimes you go by, it drops stuff all the time.
Yeah. It's not like a talpo, but yeah, I know what it's like. The long seed pods.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I know
So
what you're talking about.
anyways, we're preserving all the trees. I think the only thing that was in jeopardy was that one that was coming out of Frank's porch. So otherwise, all the trees are being preserved. Just last week, we got someone from the state reached out on trees for this particular project.
Yeah.
So Ken at the engineer, they're looking into that anyway, so even more trees or what can be done. So, and we have some more things to do on that.
I think the town hall gets fed from, the pole goes just before the bridge, and it gets
Comes
fed back behind the building. But it's getting fed from across, I'm not sure
From the mill,
where.
I think it's from the mill.
There's a pole
From the
between
mill.
the mill and the town hall
Right,
in the back.
in the back, yeah.
But where does that
Oh,
pole
right.
get fed from? Probably the same way Mike's talking about.
Right, yeah, I think there's like 4 or 5 poles.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones that would be feasible to, bury.
Yeah, we should look into it.
Let's see what they say. All right, so there's no other questions. We'll go ahead and adjourn this, and then we'll.
Did you get that in the meeting minutes?
All right, so I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, I'll move. Goodbye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Please.
We're going to go ahead and start the meeting. I will call the meeting to order. It is the Moretown pre-town meeting. Here, we've done it early this year. We'll hope to get some feedback from everyone. Next year, we may do it even a little bit earlier. We're thinking possibly sometime in January. I think Middlesex does it, so people would have an opportunity to talk about the budgets and stuff prior to us actually the select board deciding on it, and then we vote on it. So there might be some opportunities to have earlier discussions on the budget going next year. But before I start into the articles, first I'd just like to, if we could just take a moment. As you all know, John Hogaboom, we've been here for over 36 years. Passed away this past fall. He had a great thing up on the Bliss Farm memorial up there. But if we just maybe take a moment, bow your heads, and just give some thought to John, maybe. All right, everyone, thank you. I know we did dedicate the board dedicated the book this year to John, and God rest well, John. So we're going to start the first article. So the first article is asking for a moderator. So I know Steve is here. Steve, would you like to, will you be running for auditor, and would you like to say something?
I'm happy to run as moderator again this year.
Very good. Would you like to add anything, Steve?
No, that's enough.
All right, very good, thank you. So we'll go ahead on, we'll just, Article 2, select board members. So let's, we have 2 offices, it's 1-year terms. I know both myself and Mike are running. In fact, let me introduce, this is Mike Brown. Mike actually was appointed for John's position. And we were very impressed. We had 4 people that actually applied for that position. So that's telling Don and I that, our time is limited here, and we'll have some people that are coming in that are really worthy. All 4 candidates would have been a good choice, but Mike ended up prevailing. So, Mike, do you want to say anything on running on the 1-year term?
Hi, I'm Michael Brown. As Tom said, I got appointed to John's position, and yeah, I've lived in Moretown for maybe 11 or 12 years. I was a lister for a very short amount of time with Mike Woods, who's in here. Yeah, Donnie had talked to me about it for a while, and so Tom, and really just decided to come just to try to help the town out and come at it with an open mind. So
if you have any questions or concerns, you have Mike, another person that's well versed in town. So I will be running again for 1 more year. I certainly appreciate your support. Continue to kind of working on what we have been. Right now, we focus on our employees, on the infrastructure. There's been a lot of challenging things going on, and I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit of that later tonight. But I'll continue to work with that, and take your calls and questions, and work for you. So I appreciate all your support I've had in the last 13 years. So we also have a 1-year term, and before I move on, is there anyone that wants to run for the 1-year terms that just wants to do a write-in campaign? Didn't think so, but just wanted to check. And also, moving around a little bit, we're online tonight, and we have 2, 4, 6 people online. If they make comments, I'll let you know who's talking, but we have Dan Zucker, Bob Blodgett, Mary Larson, Ray Washburn, Deb, and Corey Stevenson online. So Don, you're running for the 3-year term. Is there anything you'd like to share with us?
Well, it's a pleasure to serve the town and the community. I decided to run for the 3-year term so that Mike would hang in there and do the 1 year. I wanted to stay on the board at least for another couple of years to help shepherd through a few things that we're doing here in town, and the work revitalization of the town hall, a couple of sidewalk projects, and just generally helping to steward some of the FEMA stuff, and just stay in touch. We've also been working on, as a lot of you know, seeing if we can try a different format for town meeting to get more people to attend. So this is our first baby steps, as you want to call it, by, as Tom mentioned, moving pre-town meeting. There are some towns doing what they're calling Have Your Say Day, which is Waterbury and Duxbury have done. So they've been doing that in January, where they come with a rough draft of the budget, and then people can have some input that way. So let's perhaps stay tuned. Maybe we'll try that next year. And again, having town meeting at 4 o'clock, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about more people feeling they can make the meeting. We have childcare from being provided by Neck of the Woods, and hopefully all of you are looking at your cookbooks to see what you might bring for the potluck. So appreciate your support, and but if anybody wants to step up and run for the 3-year term, go for it. No, I'm not seeing any hands go up. Okay, so we'll carry on.
Thank you, John. All right, so the next office that comes up is the one trustee for the public money for 1-year term. I know we have the incumbent Cheryl Lynn, who's running again. Cheryl, is there anything you'd like to share here?
Pretty much know everyone, but I'm your clerk and treasurer as well. I am running for the trustee of public money, and your vote would be appreciated. Thank you.
Any write-ins for that office? All right, nothing online. Okay, we have a delinquent tax collector. I don't see Craig here, but I know he is running. I'm sure he would appreciate your vote. That being said, is there anyone here who would like to have a run-in candidacy for the tax collector? Delinquent tax collector. All right, seeing nothing.
Well,
No one?
just to speak to Craig, he's done an excellent job, and I don't know, I think he's been doing it for 4 or 5 years now, isn't it?
Oh, a lot longer. I'm gonna say like 25, 30 years.
No way.
Oh, yeah, I've been here 17.
It's your play.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yes, Craig does a great job collecting these. Everyone, even who he's collecting with, I hear good things from, that he's very respectful and does a good job of that. So then we have one cemetery commissioner for a 3-year term. I know Mark Austin is the incumbent. He's not. So is that open?
It's a vacant, yeah.
Vacant. Anyone willing to run for that? I just saw your hand.
I didn't
Oh.
even know what to do.
We can teach you. All right. So think about it. You have until town meeting. If you wish to be cemetery commissioner, you can get your petition in, and you will be just fine. Second constable, 1-year term. Clarence running again?
Yeah.
So Clarence Wood will be on the ballot for that. Clarence has been our second constable, had been the first constable, now the second. Does a wonderful job. So if you could please support him. Looking for any write-ins for that? No, I'm not seeing any of that. Okay, we have some library trustees for 1-year term, 2 1-year terms.
Sybil Schlesinger is running.
All right, Sybil is,
Yes.
all right, is there anyone else? You? Oh, I just thought you were, you just wait. Thought you were running.
Volunteer.
You voluntold, sure. All right, so it's, library trustees, put the word out there. There's some vacancies there, so if people are wondering what they could join, what they could do, I hear they're a pretty friendly group and do a lot of good things. All right, and then we have a library trustee for a 3-year term, so kind of the same thing. And that's what we have for offices. Are there anyone that would like to speak out to for any candidacies for write-ins? All right. So
Tom, I'm on Zoom. It's Corey Stevenson.
hey, Corey.
I just wanted to let folks know that Erin Hunt, who is a current trustee, is running for the 3-year seat as a write-in. So she will be reaching out, but she's running for that 3-year position.
Okay. Did everyone hear that? So this is Corey Stevenson. She's our librarian, and she was letting us know that Erin Hunt, who was in the position, is running as a write-in candidate for the 1-year.
For the 3 years.
Oh, pardon me. For the 3-year
That's okay.
library trustee. So if you could remember to write that in, I'm sure she would appreciate that. I'm sure she'll probably be out there on social media letting you know as well. Thank you, Corey. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. All right, so there's really Articles 3 and 4. Nothing there that anyone to discuss unless is there anything that people would like to discuss on Articles 3 or 4? It's setting the tax rates for November 1st, or the tax when they're due is November 1st. Any questions on that? Concerns? Nothing, all right. And Article 4, it's the graduated commission on the delinquent taxes, 4% for the first 30 days and 8% thereafter. Any questions or discussion on that? All right.
Yeah, is there a process to help people that can't pay their taxes so that they're not just adding more fees?
Yeah, if you look, I think Craig has stated in the book, there is a process that he goes through with the folks. So there's not perpetually, he is working with them. He's been, as we said, he's been doing it for a long time. So it's his point to get the taxes paid. So he's really trying to figure out how to best do that with folks. I don't know what type of formal process that he does have.
Can you remind us what it is now so that if this is a change, we can prepare to change?
For the delinquencies?
Yeah.
So, if you do not pay by April 1st by midnight, November 1st by midnight, then it's a 4% penalty and 1% interest. And then you have until December 1st. And then if you still don't pay by then you get another, by the end of November, December 1st, the other 4% penalty gets added onto that. And it's 1% penalty every single month after that.
So the difference is this wouldn't be graduated, you get 30 days at 4% and then it goes straight to 8%. And
With the total 8%. It used to be that you automatically got the 8% penalty right off the bat on November 2nd. But a few years back, the voters decided to go with the 4 and 4 versus, so that with the hopes that people would be able to not get hit with that 4% again.
All right.
And also, it's important to note that if you look at page 55, for the Charles O. Davis Fund, this is really for people who might be like my age or type of thing. But there is that fund can be used to help people who are having problems paying their taxes, is one of the ways we've used that fund. This can be used other ways, but that's another way. So you can read about it in detail on page 55.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on. Article 5, shall the voters of the town of Moretown vote the sum of $1,859,294.49 for the support of the town for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025, and for any operating expenses or obligations. Australian ballot. So we have, starting on page, it's the beginning of it. Page 6 and 7, we're starting the budget. A little bit different format than you've seen in the past. This year, it has the revenues up front, and then the comparative budget analysis. But this is typically Cheryl Lynn would take this report that we have, kind of breaks it up, makes it a little bit prettier. This year, because of the time constraints, it went straight from being finished Wednesday night to last Thursday. It was sent to the printers. So you're kind of getting it's the real version without any kind of
Making it pretty.
making it pretty, as she says.
There's also a lot of room for error when you try to make it pretty because you're downloading it from a spreadsheet. So if you hit a button, then when you delete something, then you're not really going to see what the actual is. So these are actuals.
So we can go through and look. So that figure that I just quoted, that 1.8, that represents a 13% increase over last year. And 8% of that is on the front page of the front cover of your book. It's the fire truck in the new town truck. So that right there, that's about $136,000 of the $200,000 increase that we've seen this year. So that's 8% of that 13. That's stuff that was voted on last year that this board really we couldn't do anything that was set in this budget. Of the other 5% increase, some of the new things in the budget that you would have seen or would see. There's a $6,000, let me get to it. We'll start right from the beginning. Yes, on page 10, Mad River Valley Ambulance has requested a $6,000 appropriation. First time they've done that, as far as wanting it on an annual basis. About 3 years ago, they came to us and requested $30,000 for a new ambulance. And they thought that might be their only ask. Because of changes in finances, this year they came with an MOU to us asking if we would do an annual $6,000 contribution. And we think it's fair. We do it with Montpelier, we do it with Waterbury. So rather than have an annual article, we decided to put it in the budget. So there's $6,000 that's new. Down below that, we've added $13,000 to the auditors. So we had a $13,000 budget last year. This year it's $26,500. And we need to do full audits because of all the grant money that we're getting, and after you hit over $750,000, you're required to do a full annual audit. So it's the price of getting that money. So that, between those two, that's another 1.5% of your increase. I think as we go through page 11, I don't think there's really anything different. The other big expenses that we've seen this year or changes is both healthcare. And as you look through, our healthcare costs actually is a little over 10%. Could have been worse. We ended up changing plans. We went from Blue Cross Blue Shield to MVP. We were able to keep the plans very comparable, but it was, I think MVP was, how much cheaper was it? Probably 10% cheaper or so? Yeah, so we
Full 10%.
yeah, so MVP, same coverage, about 10% cheaper. So do your shopping. And then you'll notice as we go through, pay increases as well. That's the other percent. We did a 5% across the board this year with everyone. There.
You said that was 1% almost, a total increase?
No, approximately, yeah. What else do we have? The other thing that we've added to this year, is you look through the buildings, different from the fire department to the new town office to the garage, is we're upped the maintenance money that we've put in. We're trying to get ahead of these things. Donnie's been spending quite a bit of time. Don, if you want to share what you've been doing with that.
Well, the fire station needs a little TLC, so some of the siding needs some repair, and there's a roof drainage issue that's affected the entrance door. The entrance door has gotten rusted out, and the front lights over the bays are need repair. So I mean, we won't do everything this year, but we're gonna start. We just can't let it sit there and keep getting worse. So that's one thing on the list. The town garage is a little bigger project. We have a moisture issue there between the radiant floors and the air exchange system, which is basically non-existent. So we have an engineer giving us a proposal on how to rectify that, because once we figure out the best way to do that, then there's some eaves and some soffit work that needs to be done. And there's no sense in fixing that yet until we figure out the moisture problem. This kind of goes back to when the building was built in 2009. Apparently they had air recovery system that they deleted at the time as a cost savings, thinking that they didn't need it, but it turns out we do need it, because they come in with wet trucks with snow all over them and they drip onto the radiant floor, which causes all this moisture. So anyways, long story short, we'll tackle a few minor repairs there, but that's the long range goal, is to correct that.
So that's, as you'll go through the book, you'll notice that our maintenance has increased as well on all the buildings. So moving on to page 13, are there any questions prior or that we've gone over? Yeah.
Is there still money in here for the Washington County Sheriff? I looked twice and didn't see it.
Yes, there is. Yep.
Okay.
It's the same. It was $20,000 was appropriated. I think if you look under
Page 9,
page 9,
3/4 of the way down.
yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, it's town reports. It's the law enforcement sheriff, page 9, like I said, about 2/3 of the way down. All right, so on page 13, as we go down, this is where you'll see the 28,000 and then the 12,000. That's making up that 8% increase on the vehicles, of the trucks. Again, down below, highway pay changed there. I don't think there's anything that stands out as far as new or exorbitant. Turning the page, on page 15, again, yes.
Back on page 12, see the FEMA consultant?
Yep.
54,000.
Mm-hmm.
What is that
That is, we hired a FEMA consultant, Ray Washburn, to do our FEMA work coordination. Ray spends, he's online here, you're welcome to talk about it, but he's done everything. He meets with FEMA, he meets with the contractors, does everything with the flood, basically.
And it is all reimbursable.
And that, all that is reimbursed that time in consultant pay. And quite frankly, and that went out to bid. There were three different firms that placed a bid. What were the other two? There was, I can't remember, two consulting firms. I think Kingsbury was one, and the one over in Middlebury. But either way, Ray won the bid, and we wouldn't be where we are right now, and we're actually in a good place with FEMA, and we can talk about that. But we're very fortunate to have someone that's knows the town, that's working for the town, and is really doing the extra for the town.
And knows the construction as well.
And yeah, on the backside, he knows construction, so it's really been a win-win for us and probably him as well.
He's, I can just say if I may.
Yeah.
He is on the phone, on the emails every single day with FEMA. It's a full, it's a job.
Yeah.
And he's doing amazing.
Maybe this would be a good time for a FEMA update, or?
Yeah, we can, if you want to talk about, I guess, just make sure there's nothing else that's really. So probably on people's minds, the, bless you, the floods, and where we're at and what has happened. So I'll kind of give you some stats that I have, and then when you want to know more, just stop me and we'll go from there. So the 2023 flood, total damage, we have 4,655,000. Sure, okay. I'll even stand up here. So I'm just talking about the 23 flood, and our damage was $4,655,953.77. So we're fortunate. The FEMA, as of right now, paying 90% of that. So they're paying $4,192,395.65.
That's 2023.
That's 2023. Yep, we'll go next. The state is paying 8%. So they're paying $370,846.50.
We received any of the FEMA money?
Yep, I'll get there. So definitely going in a row here.
The state share again.
The state share is $370,846.50. Excuse me. And so the town is 2%, and that's $92,711.62. And so far, we have received on this 23, $777,171.16. So we've received $777,171.16.
From just FEMA or from everybody?
That is that's total FEMA, just FEMA. We've also, just from the state ripped us out a check for $30,000. And you can see in there, it's on page, where's that $30,000? Well, anyways, the state just last year had extra money. We got $30,000 from them, but we haven't got anything else from them yet. We do have a $3 million loan right now with the Northfield Savings Bank. And that right now is just accumulating interest. We're not paying anything on that. August 1st, that will come due. That will be about $130,000. And that's just interest. That interest is also reimbursable by FEMA. We are actually just started that process, I think, last week, already requesting the interest that we haven't yet paid. So that is in the works as well.
Is there a backup plan if federal funding gets cut for paying back?
Nope.
There's no backup?
I mean, aside from come to you guys, taxes, I mean,
This is just 2023.
this is just 2023.
So,
But there's money still owed by FEMA, right?
Oh, yeah.
That 30,000 went to the 2020. Page 20.
On that $130,000 interest payment?
Yep.
You said that's reimbursed by FEMA, right?
Yes.
But until we get that money, how are we gonna pay?
Well, by March of this year, we are expecting another payment, which would bring it up to 90% of $1,765,584.28.
So this will be ongoing money.
Yeah, this is just ongoing stuff going all the
So
time.
that's not gonna hit the budget then,
No, that's not, that's what we're trying to do. That's what I'm really working very hard every day not to do. I can tell you, we are working. So there is contingency plans. I didn't mean it like that, but it's just. So,
shake and bake.
shake and bake.
Tom,
Yes.
did you say the check is for 1.9 that's coming in?
No, I said it's for 1.7.
And if you've received 770, that's about 2.5, but it doesn't sound like 90%.
No, and then we have another expected, this is, they have a balance uncertain of $176,558 that we're getting, but they don't have a date on it when they're giving that to us yet. Whereas the 770, they said by the end of March, we've got that, but we owe you 176. It's their intention to allocate that sooner than later, but we have not received a date on
What
that.
about the other 2.5 million or so?
Well, that's the state, and that's where, I don't know exactly when that's coming.
They don't pay until FEMA's done.
So FEMA has to pay their.
FEMA pays there, and then the state will. Yeah, you saw the 30,000. Actually, the 30,000 actually went to the 24 flood, by the way, so that was, I misspoke on that. So getting to the 24 flood, yes, 24 flood, we have $59,693 in damage. $9,059,693.
How much is that one again? Can you just repeat that number again?
That number is $9,059,693.
Is that combined?
No.
No,
That's the,
no.
that's the
Let
20.
me speak and then you'll get through. But that's but through 25, so just this year coming, we have $4,259,693. That's what we have allocated from what we've done now, whether it's the Moretown Common Road, the large culverts on the Common Road, basically of that. The other 5 million of that 9, that's stuff we're pushing out further. So for 25, we're only looking at 4.5 million. This total 9 million worth of work. A lot of that is mitigation work. So we're working with FEMA. We're hoping to be able to do that over a 6-year period. So we don't have to come up with that match during that time. But immediately next year we have 4,259,693. And at this point, the FEMA would be paying $3,193,900 $94,769.75. The state paying 10%, and that figure I just gave you, the 3.1, that's 75%. The state paying 10%, that's $429,969.30. Sorry, I can't see well. And so that would leave the town share at 15%, and that would be $638,953.95. So that, Mike, you were asking that. That's what we're really trying to avoid hitting. And we're working with state and FEMA officials now. So you know, they started the 23 flood in the same percentages, 75, 10, and 15. So, you know, we're hoping that we see the same or some changes up to that 90% or close to it. But, you know, we all watch the news right now, so there's a lot of uncertainty going on. So, yes.
So I got it right, the combined town share of the two is about 700,000?
Yep.
90 and 600?
638,953 plus the 90.
So is that any of that in this budget, or what, are you just keeping that like paid interest?
Right, I think the 92, that'll come, we're looking at the budget, the capital reserve, we're looking at where we can possibly come up with that. Yeah, so we don't, I mean, we can't just keep throwing it out there on people. The other the second for 24, the 638, there's just a lot of work that we have to do on that. I mean, just like we did to get to where we are now, we're only paying 92,000. There was a lot of work to get here. And just to someone's point or your point with Ray, having someone on it daily working it is really what you need. And we've got the relationships now. And that's key to this whole FEMA thing and working with the state, it's relationships. And we've got good ones, we're gonna try to keep them. Now, just a minute, I had Chris first had a question, and then I'll get Chris.
Thanks for taking that on. I think, you know, you didn't sign up for all the FEMA work, and that's a lot. Okay. And imagine having it to do unexpectedly. My question was in 23, was that 2 storms? Did FEMA cover?
No, they did not cover the December storm. No.
And was that similarly material? And
yeah. Yeah. It gets kind of rolled in.
It wasn't declared, so it
Yeah.
wasn't technically included. Got
Right.
it. It was kind of rough.
Yeah, it was kind of the same spot. So, right.
So,
yeah, some of them are combined, the 24 from the 23, but that's where some of that mitigation comes from.
Mitigation as well.
So you said that originally in 2023, it was gonna be 75%.
Yes.
And that through relationships and hard work, we got.
Well, it isn't that. I mean, the federal government needs to make those decisions, but we're there to
Well,
help
what I
them
was wondering is there anything that citizens can do to help change that percentage, or do we really just need to rely on
That's a very good question. I mean, let us think about that, and if there is, pray, that would be good. Something. Yeah, I think
Yeah, perhaps your legislatures.
Sure, Donna, and we also have Ms. White here as well.
Or one of your reps, or other rep, so there is some legislation that's going to hopefully be considered this year that would lower the town's portion. So the state would take on a higher portion for
2024.
Yeah. So we will keep you posted on it. And there's a whole bunch of ideas too. There's a lot of work around flooding. Just to make coordinating, recovery, response. There's just a ton of ideas. So many towns were impacted. And we have like 7 different ones. So more to come.
So I guess that answers the question right there. There's people in the State House working on this. We need advocates in there helping.
Yeah, and you might need to actually reach out to the governor because it will be in the budget. And
Yep.
this could be a secret point that you need to hear as well.
And we'll talk to the congressional delegation as well. That's, we push from the federal side. So good. Candace, as a representative, do you have anything you wanted to share on that at all?
Dara is a little bit more informed about that than I am, and I'm just kind of listening
Okay.
to all the expenses here. I mean, I'm on the transportation committee, so we've certainly been hearing, from the agency of transportation in terms of the work that they've done, to help different towns get back on their feet. So nothing to add right now, just
Okay, thanks. Jonathan has his hand up, gonna be polite. Yeah, this guy.
Go ahead.
Yeah. He hadn't been coming for a few years, so we're gonna. Jonathan.
So what, I think you may have said this, we have 700,000 combined, our portion, more or less.
Yes.
More. How much, what's our interest that we're paying on that combined?
4.5 on the 3 million interest right now.
So is that, do you have a number annually or whatever?
Well, I started in January, and August is going to cost me, or cost us $130,000 on that interest because we tapped the 3 million already.
Summer's.
But it's
Right.
reimbursable by FEMA.
Right, we're
The
getting that
interest
back.
is reimbursed.
Interest is.
Yes.
Without a cost share, it's okay.
Right. And the idea is to keep the cash flow going. As I said, we're getting the 1.7 right back, and we're trying to keep pushing that so we can keep our interest, keep the loan going until we're right. We all do that a little bit at home, right? So that's the flood, and that's kind of what we're doing on it. I'm sorry, John.
I just wanted to add something about how FEMA works on the 90% share and the 75%. It's kind of a function of how bad the disaster was with cost. So in 2023, it was so wide scale so that it hit the number, and I can't remember what the amount was, that triggered it, it made it 90% cost share. I think it's unlikely that the 2024, because even though it was devastating where it flooded, it wasn't as big. So I don't think it's gonna hit the 90% threshold. So I think the focus needs to be on what Dara was saying, to see the state resources to help the towns.
Very good. Thanks. Ray had a comment. Ray, did you?
I think what I was going to say is what John I think just said, that the FEMA percentage for the 2024 flood could change to 90% when it gets to a certain threshold. Whether we obtain that or not at this point, I don't know. But that 75 could change to 90 like the 2023 flood. But there's no way to forecast that at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Ray didn't give us any good news there. He just said kind of basically we said it could ramp up to 90%. You need to reach a threshold, and once they do, those numbers tick up. There's no way that he can forecast that at this point or see. So we're just.
And my day job, I worked with emergency management and with DEC, and right now it doesn't look like it's getting close to the threshold, but if it can, I will let you know.
Push it across the line for us, John. So there's another person we're going to be advocating with.
That's a statewide threshold?
Yes, it's the overall disaster threshold for state, yes.
All right. Any questions on any of this? All right. So just so you know, we are really working hard to put the town back together. We're trying to do it so that we can all continue to live here, affordable. So we're pushing every button that we can to get the reimbursements on this stuff. And Ray's working on the construction side to make sure that that's being done right and correct. So, some of the mitigation that we've been going through will hopefully prevent some of this stuff going forward. So we kind of jumped out of the budget back, so we're kind of back into it. I don't know if there's anything that stood out to anyone that said, hey, what did we spend that on, or what's going on? And I guess the board here are willing to take any questions on the budget. I don't know where else to go with it. So what do you want to know or not know about it? Hey, Karen? Yep.
I was just gonna say on page 36, that's where you have your grant thing.
Yep.
It looks like actually you can do an amazing job in
So Karen's, I guess so I'm just going to repeat what you said, Karen. I think you heard.
I mean, it just seems like you've done a fairly amazing job in getting some of these grants. Like, that's a long list of grants.
Thank you. So Cheryl Lynn's our grant manager. And what we did a few years ago, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, we put an incentivized, we incentivized it. So rather than an hourly pay on it, we pay, if you find a grant, a certain amount. If we apply, you got to apply for it. You get a certain amount, and then if we get the grant, she gets the full amount. So it's a good incentive, it's a little, to carry out there. So she's looking all the time for grants. And then she has, good reason to make sure they're filled. And I think it averages probably about $500 for a grant that she'll get paid on it. So it's money that's well spent. And as you can see, most of them are awarded, some denied. And then there's some that she does some little ones for us that are, under $1,000 or things like that. And that's just kind of on the cuff, if you will. She doesn't put in request for payment on those. So thank you, Cheryl. So she does a good job with it. She follows up, and thank you, Karen, for pointing that out.
Tony, I had a question from the guy in the hockey hat over there.
Hey, let's go.
Guy in the hockey hat.
No, Chris, yeah, Chris.
Just had a question about page 8, the third stanza down. I know town hall, we kind of go back and forth about.
Oh, yeah, so you're.
Possibly doing some renovations / planning. I see the budget for this past year. There's some,
Yep, $50,994.92. So if you were to look on page 6, about halfway down, this is Town Hall, it says 15,000. And then down below it, it's another revenue for 17,000. So that comes up to, the amount I'm trying to get to is 29,587. So that money was donated from the Friends of the Library to that project. So that amount was not a budgeted amount. It was engineering work that we were doing, but that's being paid for by the Friends. In addition to that, we had a grant, the MERP grant. Where is that, Cheryl? I don't even know.
It's not, you won't see that because it's part of the,
It was in the grant.
It was in the grant. So that's how that's being paid for. But Don, you want to go ahead and share on the board?
Oh, so we do have a capital campaign that we've been fundraising to do the final stage of construction documents. So that's what you're seeing there. Is not only the architect and the engineers, but also a construction manager that we hired that'll give us a final cost estimate. And then, unfortunately, we applied for a grant this past year from the Vermont Libraries for $1.4 million, which is a huge competition for it. We were pretty, we weren't quite shovel ready, but we were close. But we didn't get that. Supposedly there'll be another round from the Vermont Library this year that we're waiting to hear about. Obviously, we don't, at this point, we don't wanna try to come to the town for how we would finance, revitalization work that is needed. So, stay tuned, we're just gonna finish out the construction docs, which are supposed to be done in about another month, and then we'll try to figure out how we can fund it.
But all those bills come through the town, but they're being paid for by the Friends or some grants that we're getting, so it's a good deal. Any other questions on the budgets? Doug?
Hi, I'm Doug Reed. There's news that they're gonna take Moretown and this waste and kick them out of the district, from this building, out of the districts at some point in time. So I was asking Bill Reed, who used to be the education secretary and the lawyer, who owns the building? So his thinking was, since we signed on to the district, they do. So if they do own the building and they do kick us out, who pays for any bonding or any debt we have? And do we actually own the building, or do they own the building?
That's a school board question. I don't know.
The school board is the enemy.
No.
This is our building, we built it, I designed it.
Yeah, didn't we sell it to the district for $1 and now we would buy it back for $1? Wouldn't that be, isn't that what the agreement is?
Yeah.
No.
I think the town gets first refusal on it.
Right, but if we were to buy it back, we also have to pay all the expenses that they put into it.
That's the question, so we have
Yes,
to.
it's in the agreement. But they only own the building, they don't own the land.
But we own the debt.
No, we don't own it because the district owns it. The district currently owns it right now,
We would take the debt on if we purchased it back.
only if we purchase it back.
Anybody in the town know this?
Say again?
Does anybody in the town know that we gave away the school?
It was for.
I do. I think a lot of people know
That was the vote, like, I don't know, like 500 or 600 people voted on it, yeah.
that. Okay, it's what by me, sorry. There's 3 or 4 different pieces of property in the town. Bill Reed was saying it depends on what the town needs for the rest of the property.
Well,
There's 4 different needs for this property.
We went through a lot of that with the town forest management plan update for this parcel, and so I guess Sherilyn can correct me, but it was the school, so now it's really probably the school district that owns like the dirt under the school, like essentially the footprint, but they don't own anything else, right, of this 175 acres, so, right. We went all through it, and we're, especially with the easement, so, I mean, literally, the school district owns like the perimeter of the school, maybe a few feet outside of it, and that's it. So, if that brings you, just to clarify
I believe it's 2 acres that the school sits on.
Yeah, so.
So if we wanted to lease this to another entity for a charter school or something, we'd have to buy it back for $1 and then pay off the bond.
Yeah. So, I hadn't heard any recent rumors like that, but who knows?
So if we don't buy it back and they close the school, what happens to the school?
I don't know.
That's a school district question.
Well, they're dumping.
Yeah, Mike?
The first none in the scenario is get rid of Moretown. There are 12 options, and all of them say get rid of Moretown. 6.
So people say they're dumping. It's under consideration, absolutely.
No,
But there are multiple options that the school district is looking at. And it's not been determined at all whether they will close the Moretown school or the Facein school. And I think that decision is down the road.
I just read in the paper that all their options were start of the idea of Moretown.
Yes, they are, but nothing has been decided. When you say they're dumping it, that's premature. They haven't decided on anything. Closing it and dumping it are two different, phases. Yes.
Tom, one thing about us having a pre-town meeting today is it used to coincide with the district's town meeting. So now that this is separate, we have the opportunity to go to those meetings and say what we want to say.
Very good.
Be Monday night on the 3rd.
Monday the 3rd, so Doug, I mean, I hope you're there.
I mean, we also have this district-wide education transformation effort underway now, which is, I don't know if you've been following it. So there's a vision from the governor. There's a lot of detail that needs to be worked out. And
6 districts in real estate.
the opening start is 5. So, but everything is, in the early phases of idea generation, and there's a lot. I mean, I know Candace has been following it closely with the working group you're part of, in terms of digging into the numbers. All of that is happening. But I do think if we get to the point where consolidation starts to happen in the state, it would be probably happening in a different district setting. I'm just, speculating. So I think right now, you probably could hold off on that worry because, there is a lot of thought about if there is a community that needs to lose a school, what would an offering be so that there can still be a community hub, And that's one of the things I'm hoping as we talk about this over the next few years, we think about what can we offer in conjunction to a community that has to make that hard decision. There's a lot of need for community centers and a lot of big library improvements, all kinds of things that could come into play and be a part of a community. So just, down the road, way down the road, it might not be this town, but.
Thank you, Dara. Anyone else want to make any comments on that last discussion, school stuff, or not? Perfect. All right, so, I'm sorry.
Just to add to what Dara had to say, I think the conversation at the state level, with the governor's proposal is really to be looking at the consolidation of high schools first. And we're talking, with this district consolidation of 50-something superintendent unions down to, they've said 5, but that's a really low number. I think a lot of people are feeling like that's too low. But, part of the plan is, at least the way it's proposed, is to preserve smaller elementary schools. So, definitely it's not to be getting rid of a bunch of our small schools that we value. The Valley, Moretown, Duxbury, we may have one too many elementary schools because we are suffering declining enrollment like many other states. But as Dara said, whether we have a real need for housing, daycare with Act 76, making more affordable, high-quality daycare centers. So there is, I think, some opportunity for repurposing schools that are deemed non-essential is not the right word, but if you have too many small schools, you might need to cut down one. But and it's definitely premature at this stage to be thinking which one is targeted, and there are a lot of details that still need to be worked out. Like, number one, how does a scenario show that we're going to be saving a lot of money? Because right now, I think the Joint Fiscal Office is modeling that, but we really need to see, it would be a very disruptive plan. So I think people all feel like we need to see some real evidence of cost savings before we go down this road, a pretty significant change for schools.
Thank you. All right, seeing no questions online, none of it out here. So there's nothing else on the budget with the school. I'm going to go ahead and move on. We had Article 6 that we wanted to discuss with you, and that's, I'll just read it out here. Shall the town of Moretown become a 50% member of the Mad River Valley Rec District? Accept the district agreement, and they had to amend it to allow us in at 50%. and appropriate $20,000 as its assessed share through this first year. Right now, we are a member of the Mad River Valley District. I think we pay, what, $3,000? Yeah, I think we
Was it, I thought we, was it 3,000 or
3,500.
Yeah, $3,000, $3,500 is roughly what we've been paying for the last, I don't know, 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom?
Yes.
The district asked me to speak on their behalf. You want me to?
Yep.
take some time to do that?
Chris
Okay.
did too.
All right, Chris is, yeah.
Yeah, so I was asked by the Mad River Valley Rec District just to talk a little bit about their request here.
Who are you, Clark?
Oh, yes, who am I? Well, I'm Clark Kavanaugh, I'm a resident of Moretown. Is that enough? Okay. Planning Commission, other things. So right now, Facein, Waitsfield, and Warren pay $40,000 a year to be a member. Currently, Moretown is paying $22.50, so $2,250, so fairly modest amount. And one of the reasons that the rec district is approaching Moretown about this is the participation of youth in the activities that are sponsored by or through the Mad River Valley Planning Commission is about 20%. So about 20% of the kids that are participating in it are coming from Moretown, and we're paying a relatively modest amount of that. And I can be a little more specific. So, for example, for summer soccer, the largest participating town is Waitsfield at 236 kids. Moretown is 128, Warren is 72, and Facein was 74, Waterbury was 67. So there's a fair amount of kids that are in Moretown, from Moretown, that are participating in activities that are supported through the rec district. The proposal for upping encouraging and asking Moretown to pay $20,000 is half of what, as I said earlier, what the other towns are paying. Some of the case for this that they're talking about is, as I said, trying to bring up some equity, because there's 20% of the kids that are participating or participants in through activities of the rec districts over now. And there's also a grant program that towns can apply for within the rec district, which Moretown is not able to apply for at this point because they're paying a relatively low amount. So even though they would not be paying the total amount that the other three towns I mentioned are paying, they would be eligible to apply for grant programs, which could go through all kinds of different recreation activities or facilities that Moretown might decide. For example, the Moretown Recreation Committee might decide to apply for a grant through the rec districts, which they would not be able to at this point. And as you can imagine, that upping this amount would also support some of the administrative support staff, and also some of the expenses for the rec district. Obviously, that would be something that Moretown would be doing, and also by contributing to the vitality of that particular organization within the valley too. And there's also some support for some of the partners to the rec district. So, for example, the Mad River Path, which is fairly active at this point and getting reactivated. There is some funding and support through, that the rec district provides to the Mad River Path as well. And let's see, what else do I want to mention? And this particular amount that is being asked for from the rec district would also be an annual amount. So it would be 20. So right now we're paying a relatively small amount, and I don't want to minimize any sort of amount that we pay. Every penny that we pay for facilities or services is important, but comparatively, it's a relatively small amount to the other towns, so that $20,000 would be an ongoing cost that Moretown would pay to be a half member, well, not a half member, a full member of the rec district. So that's, in a nutshell, what the request is about. And the other thing I would encourage people to do, if there's anyone in the room that has kids that are participating in recreation activities that are sponsored through the district or themselves have participated in that, I encourage you perhaps to take some time at this point to describe how your kids or other people have been taking advantage of that. I'm also going to take as I look around the room, that there may not be may not be the same age demographic that has kids in these activities right now.
Jeez, Clark.
If you know people who do, you may want to ask them about that or encourage them to speak up at town meeting. I'm not in a position to talk in depth about this proposal, but I'll do my best to try to answer any questions that you might have and also provide through Front Porch Forum some additional follow-up between now and town meeting as well. So, any questions or comments?
Well, my kids definitely participate in soccer, baseball.
Great.
So, thank you. But I do have a question.
Sure.
Is there an increase in the expenses that they're looking to, like?
Well, is there something else that's going on contributing to that ask?
Yes, that, and kind of ask both, or do you want me to ask one at a time?
I can respond to that.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as I know, there's no additional activities that are the additional money that Moretown might be allocating to that that'll be paying for. It's basically just to kind of recognize the participation level of Moretown in these activities and also bring it up to a little bit more equitable amount based on the other valley towns. So, in all due respect to people who live near Waterbury or Northfield or Montpelier, that doesn't always describe what you think of as a valley town. But nevertheless, there are a lot of Moretown people that are taking advantage of that.
And do you know how the original costs that each town was paying were developed? Like how
I have no
Moretown
idea.
ended up paying so little?
I can try to find out though. That's a really good question. I don't know how that was developed, and I suspect that that there are other funding mechanisms and grants that they're applying for. Dara, why don't you ask your question? I have one other thing I want to mention about the rec district activities.
Yeah, it's actually a comment to your question. I think the first time Moretown ever paid in was when some work was done at the Matterhorn Park. And so we were paying in, and then we probably stayed on.
Right, I think, and again, I'm going to say maybe 6 or 7 years ago, when they were buying the parcel, we contributed, and it was an article, I can't remember, 14,000? Right, and then, so once we bought the park and went with it playing soccer, we agreed to pay for some maintenance on that field, just that particular field. And that's where I was thinking it was around 3,000, I guess it's less than that, but. So that's how that figure came about.
Just a comment. Prior to that, they came to us every year. When my kids, 30 years ago, little soccer stuff, every year they asked us for money, and the town said no. So we got a free ride for quite a while. It's not really.
Yeah, when we put money towards the field, that was our first kind of dipping our toe in the water as far as, because they had been. Michelle, you might have been on the board at that point too.
Yeah, I was the rep.
Okay.
We had a special review, we fought in, separate from the other towns, we had a special agreement with the rec district. So, fine.
So there we go.
Jeff, just before you, there is the, what I'm referring to in terms of some of the benefits and such are here. There's not a lot of handouts, but I think I'll just turn the easel around and just leave them right there if you want to pick this up on their way out.
Doug had a question.
The last thing I'll mention briefly is that the rec district also applied for a VOREC grant, which is Vermont Outdoor Recreation Incentive Grant. I think that's maybe what the acronym stands for. And that has allowed, it was a very substantial grant that contributed to the development of taking a look at recreation and environmental issues within the valley, including Duxbury and Moretown. And the idea is to acknowledge the importance of recreation in this particular part of in our town and in this region, and also what's going on in terms of environmental issues and what perhaps are environmental impacts on the trails and other recreation activities that are going on in the valley. And that group has been working together for, Chris, has it been 3 years?
Only 2, but it feels like 3.
Yeah.
Every year, yeah.
It feels like it's been a long time. And there's a great group represented both kind of on the recreation and trails end, as well as on the environmental side, that have been working together to identify everything from, what's going on with trails, what might happen with trails in the future, and also what's going on in terms of environmental issues and where are environmental hotspots within the valley in terms of things that are, highlights, if you will, and also what are the risks environmentally, what are some things going on that we need to pay attention to. That group is going to be finishing its work up very soon and is now working on sort of the transition point and how will that work down the road. And how that may impact Moretown is that there's going to be a lot more of a sense of where we have come from in terms of recreation within the valley and where we might want to go with that, acknowledging the importance of recreation and how that might grow. And as a member of the Planning Commission, I can say that the survey that we got back, one of the more popular things that people wanted to see was an increase in recreational opportunities in the area, but also an acknowledgement of environmental sensitivity. So I think it's a really great foundational piece of work that this group has done, which will be growing and continuing. And Moretown, I think, can benefit from what's gone on in the rest of the valley in terms of the establishment of trails, but also the acknowledgement of environmentally important and sensitive areas. And Chris, is there anything you want to? And Chris and I have been on this group for these last few years, so.
We can talk a lot on the board. I would say for the rec district piece, my understanding is the other towns are also voting to allow us in. So they might all vote to allow us in, and then it's sort of up to us to vote to contribute at half price, $20,000. So there's a lot of visibility in the valley. The other thing is, if we were to become a member, if the other towns allow us and we voted for it, we would get an equal seat at the table and have a town representative in those discussions.
That's correct. We'd have a board
Nobody's
member.
slated for that, so that's another volunteer opportunity.
I was just going to ask, Jonathan was on the machines to build those fields, and the fields were used by the whole valley. We built the softball and coached on those fields, so it's not like we would carry out any tanks.
Well, we were paying into the, we weren't.
No, we never paid it, but there was after.
Michelle had a question in the back.
Yeah, so back when we first contributed to the rec district, when we weren't regularly contributing, it was because, the board considered it every year carefully. But at the time, we were supporting the tennis courts, we were redoing those, we were doing the fields. And so we had all this money going towards these resources that other towns were using. So that's the and also, they did the grant program, but we weren't really eligible for it. So, it's different now, and I actually support it.
Yeah, right, and thanks for saying that, Michelle. And I'm sitting up here because I also feel strongly that Moretown should begin to carry its weight. And, and again, acknowledging that, these are wacky, weird, and sometimes terrifying times right now, but recreation and the environment are really important and something that, we should, we can nurture and contribute in our little neck of the woods, if you will. And would certainly encourage us to support this.
So Clark, if we get voted in and we accept this, does that mean that now we're officially part of the Vancouver
now.
Yes. Yes, I suppose in some ways it is, though there's always up for debate in some cases.
Not the planning district, just the reg.
Do we really want to be?
Just the reg, you know.
That's a question.
If you have any other questions, I can try to answer them later, and also the information sheet is right up there.
Thank you, Clark. Appreciate that. So no further questions there on the matter of the Valley Rec District. The other article that we wanted to point out tonight is the Article 7, and shall the voters of the town of Moretown appropriate the sum of $6,250 to support the Waterbury Area Senior Center. Now that has in the past always been an article, but it was under $5,000. So that was allowed there, but they this year requested $6,250, so now has pushed it to the Australian ballot. So just making you all aware of that there. I don't know if there's any comments on that. I think it's certainly a good place to support. So that certainly finishes up the articles that we wanted to discuss tonight. Looking for some input, or are there any questions that you have for any of us up here on anything?
Just so people understand.
Absolutely. Steve, would you be able to do that for us, please?
Yep. So you'll notice Articles 8, 9, and 10, and 11, actually, we took the articles, everyone was done individually in the past, and since we're limited to up to $5,000, we couldn't combine articles, and people would say, why don't we just do this all at once? And we couldn't, and so what we have done is we've gone through and Tom did the work of the numbers, so I'm not exactly sure where they are, but they should be approximately $4,000-ish on each of those articles. What will happen on town meeting day, assuming I'm reelected, and if it's not me, then it's on somebody else, and they can do it too, is that those articles, we will, for example, Article 8, I'll read the entire article, all of those different things. Then we can discuss each of the ones that are included in that article. And if anybody wants to amend any part of that, they can. So you could, for example, say $500 to help support the work of the Vermont Association for the Blind. I'd like to increase that to $550. As long as the total for the article doesn't go over $5,000, that'll be okay. Or we can raise or lower those individually, and then we'll vote on them as a package and move on to the next article. Is that?
What happens if it gets amended and then it's over 5,000?
Then it will not be considered germane. It's not legal. Can't do it. So so if we were to amend several of them, and we were getting close to that limit, then we would we would not be able to amend any more to get above $5,000.
To be able to vote on it.
Right, because that's a limit.
Right, I know that, yeah.
Good. Any other questions? Yeah.
So the $5,000 limit, is that something, my memory is that something Eunice created, and Ms. Ferris created ways back. Is that something we can change?
Yes. It would require, so just to be clear, we could change it. It would have to be warned, and it would have to be done at a town meeting or a special town meeting in order to do that. Stop laughing.
I knew Jonathan was gonna be on this.
We're thinking about this all.
I know you have, for how many years?
So the whole deal is because we went to Australian ballot, so they had to make the thing. Now, we could do away with Australian ballot for budget items and money stuff, and just have Australian ballot for officers. And then everything gets voted from the floor. We can do whatever we want from the floor, but then it's up to the
You have to change the charter.
30 to 300 people who show up.
You actually can't do whatever you want.
So when this was initiated, the whole town meeting just died. It used to be everybody showed up with food and everything else. Because you had something to vote on, arguing would be great lunch, we go downstairs, the governor would show up, all that sort of stuff. As soon as this came in, it just stopped.
So now it's a romanticized election day.
Well, I'd be happy.
Not to take anything away from the moderator.
No.
It's the most interesting part of the day.
I'm not sure that's good.
I didn't say it was.
Any other questions regarding the core articles and the way they were combined? Okay, thank you.
I thought that was gonna be a long one. Well, I mean, I toss it out there every year, nobody bites. I think I got one guy.
Well, if I can just speak to that for a minute and about, how town meeting used to be and what it could be, is there was a group of people that we've been meeting since the spring, all the way up until then with the select board to make these suggestions about changing pre-town meeting, and as I spoke to earlier, maybe we'll even do something into January and have a Hope You Save Day, but also to try to make town meeting by changing it to 4 o'clock in the afternoon and providing childcare and hopefully the potluck. Like I said earlier, I hope you guys are all looking at your recipe books, that we could get more people to start to attend town meeting, and so this is our first shot, and then hopefully without changing, maybe that'll be something that we want to look at, changing the amounts of what some of these articles are, or changing them to floor votes or whatever. That's, having to change, the whole process, but that's possible. But the reason we combine these was because we had last year like 20 of these, and we wanted to make the meeting go a little bit faster because we're gonna be at 4 o'clock and still try to have the potluck, let's say, by 6:30 or something. So.
And something like half the town, Sharon, do you know how many towns will do Australian ballot? Waterbury still does Australian.
Most towns do.
I mean,
We're not doing
voting from the floor.
Williamstown, I think.
Middlesex.
Yeah, there are quite a few, but I don't have the exact numbers, but, and there's some towns that have gone back from Australian ballot to the floor votes.
I think that would be interesting to look at is to see, all right, when they went back, was there an uptick in attendance?
Well, I think it's great that you're moving this to like not 9 o'clock in the morning or whatever it used to be. And we could do this even in the evening, so people, you're never gonna find a town where everybody can be there. But there's a lot to having a vote of 150 people or however in the room who've listened to the discussion and know something about it, than 800 people who haven't got a clue. They just vote yes to everything. Because when was the last time something went down? Nowhere.
School budget last year.
School, but when was the last time the town thing went down? I can't remember.
Not as long as I've been here.
Just remember the polls close at 7. If town meeting's still going, you gotta get over to the office and vote.
So we could do it on the night before, though. If we're doing pre-town meeting like a week before, we could do.
You can vote anytime, just the polls close at 7, just make sure you're there before 7.
The potluck's from 4 to 6, is that correct?
Well,
The town meeting and then the potluck.
At 6:30 or something. I don't know. We'll see how town meeting goes, how
So
long
town
it
meeting
takes.
has been making, in the past, probably 6, other than in 2021, has been anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. Which is remarkable given how little we actually do.
Well, if we had, the moderator keeps us going, though.
That combining these 4 articles is hopefully gonna do is that was an hour. And I was losing my voice by the end of that. So hopefully this will make that whole part faster. One of the options that we could in the future consider would be to change that $5,000 threshold to something higher, which would allow us to combine even more. But there's pros and cons to that. If you raised that amount to $20,000, then this rec district would also then have been bumped into being on the floor vote. Do you want that? Maybe yes, maybe no. But it's sort of almost a public question anyway.
But that's what I was talking about. It's like there's something that some explanation is helpful. And if you've got people voting on it after hearing, Clark's presentation and the whole thing, it's better than just people who just see it and they go, oh, okay. I mean, I don't know.
Right, and so to clarify a little bit the way the town meeting works, is there's 3 types of questions. There's election of officers, there's public questions, and there's budget questions. And we made a decision in 1992, I think it was, that we were gonna have the election of officers and budget questions would be Australian ballot. And then we carved out an exception for the budget questions, that anything that was less than $5,000 we were gonna do on the floor. Not even necessarily clear that it's legal to make that exception. But that's what we've done and nobody's complained about it. So public questions are still done on the floor. The question of whether or not to have your voting through Australian ballot or on the floor is a public question. So if we wanted to change the way the voting was done, it would have to be on the floor at a town meeting. We could also have a special town meeting or at town meeting. That's just an option that's available to people, but we would have to have some sort of groundswell and then ask the select board, and the select board would have to say, yeah, or we could have a petition somehow to get that on there. That's just the way it has to work, and people can think about it. We can always change back, like somebody said.
One more. Is the grand list now 38 million? Is that what it is, 38? Because if it is, the amount of money that 1 penny or 1.01 on the tax rate,
Yeah.
it would be $38,000. So that, and most people I don't think really understand how all this works. We talk about all this money, but the reality is, if we're gonna pay $20,000 to be in the rec district, and 38,000 is a penny, it's a half a cent, more or less, on the tax rate. And if you have a house that's worth $100,000, that's gonna be $5 to your tax bill. Just so you understand how it works.
Thanks, Clark. Used to be 21 cents, but John?
I just have to share, I don't know how many years ago it was, 5 or 6, and we had some discussion from the floor, and it was under $5,000, and then this one poor guy just totally disagreed with it, and we voted it in, I guess. And he left the room, he started leaving the meeting and go, I can't stay here, this is mob rule. And I go, welcome to Vermont. It was mob rules, whatever mob was there, we ruled. Next article.
And that was the money for the Waterbury Senior Center, right? Mob rule, all right. Well, that kind of ends the presentation here. That was much of a presentation, but any more questions, concerns for us tonight? All right. John.
A round of applause for the grant funder.
And one thing I guess not an error yet, because I haven't not done it yet, but I want to thank everyone as I look out all the committees. We got Chris, John, Clark, Dave, Mike, Paula. I know Craig right in front of us. He's an alternate on the DRB. Susan. Hello, Susan. Everywhere. So we're good. Again, thank you, everybody. Susan on the rec committee. How come you're not playing pickleball down there? So I'm playing pickleball down in the.
This is a priority.
All right, thank you. Good. And I'm missing someone's name. I can't. It's just Karen. No, I got Karen, but Dave's wife. Joyce Manchester, thank you so much. Thank you, Judy, remember your name. But thank you everyone for coming tonight too, and all your support here. We appreciate everything. Thank you for the rest of the board. I know I talk too much and probably won't let them talk enough, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I was gonna say,
one other thing before you leave, at town meeting, there will be, hopefully, all the different committees will be represented there, so if anybody wants to mingle with people and find out more about a particular committee that you might be interested in joining or volunteering for. Also, we're gonna, as we were just talking about, the town meeting and the pre-town meeting is, an ongoing piece of work, so if anybody's interested in joining the three others that I've been working with, which is Karen, John, and Steve, and then, of course, the select board, probably after we do this and then town meeting, we'll probably meet again to sort of review how everything went and where we want to go going forward. So if anybody's interested in joining us on that, please reach out to any of the four of us. And also, one last thing before you leave, we probably need volunteers on Tuesday the 4th, but we actually need some people right now to volunteer to help put the chairs in the rack back there. That would be a big help for the folks when they come to school tomorrow.
Hey, one last thing, so potluck is at the town meeting. Clarkie.
What? No, you don't get to say that.
Clarkie actually brought his tonight.
I did.
So, it's here. And we know if you know.
Make the same thing again in 2 weeks.
Clarkie had a little birthday party and had a little problem. So I'm thinking he brought the food here to make sure it gets through this one, to make sure it's okay. Thank you, everyone.